Hey guys, welcome to another video on the channel. Today we are doing a different kind of quiz or tier list on Tier Maker today. I usually do my draft pick rankings on the tier list maker, but today we're doing something different. We're doing a goalies quiz for this year. So how I'm gonna do this, it says goalies of 2020, so that means I'm only gonna count my rankings for this year and this year's playoffs. I'm not gonna do career wise. So saying like Henrik Lundqvist, if I don't put him like top tier, it's only this year. So don't get mad about that. If you guys want to see a career goalie list, then let me know. I can change this into career wise. But for today's video, we're gonna do goalies for this year only. So before we hop into the video, make sure you are subscribed, and let's hop into this. I think I know everybody here. I might have to do some cuts to see if I have every single goalie right. I think I can tell by most of these goalies' faces, but some of the faces I might struggle on. Anyways, first up we have Jake Allen, the newest goalie of the Montreal Canadiens, and this year, you know, he played really good. Like his backup stats were amazing. And if I had to say for this year, I'm gonna put him average. I think he was pretty good. I think he had like a 0.928 save percentage this year, around that. So that's pretty good. And for a backup, I could put him pretty good, but like, actually no, I'll put him pretty good. Even for a backup this year, he played really well, and in the playoffs, he played over Binnington. So I think he deserves to be in the pretty good category. Next up, we had Frederik Andersen this year, and you know, I think he's the reason why he at least made the playoffs. He played well. I think in the game where Columbus came back, and in the last game of that series, it was not his game. But other than that, he played great in the playoffs, and he played well in the season. Do I put him almost top tier? I think he definitely is deserving of that, so I'm gonna put him there. I think pretty good's too low. I think almost top tier is good for him. Like he's one of the reasons why the Leafs is good. Next up, we have Craig Anderson, and you know, he's getting old. He's on the Senators. He's not that good, and honestly, I'm gonna put him here. I can't put him at career backup only. I might actually take that category out just for like ranking goalies this season. I'm gonna take him out. So take out that category. There we go. This season, yeah, Anderson, this was not good, and he's on the Senators, so you gotta give him some credit. You know, he's on a bad team, but that's how he played this year. He wasn't good. Next up, you have Jonathan Bernier, and playing on the Detroit Red Wings, he actually played very well. I forget what his stats were this year, but like, I know he had an over 900 save percentage, and I think it was maybe in the 910s. I know he played really well, and he's the reason why Detroit won some games. So honestly, I'm gonna put him at pretty good for being on Detroit and putting his stats up like that. He deserves to be in that ranking. Next, we got Jordan Binnington. Now, this one's tough. You know, regular season, amazing. Playoffs, he wasn't there, but I think I value the regular season more for stats wise. So I'm gonna put him at almost top tier. If he had a really good playoffs, like I think if St. Louis was still in the playoffs, I would put him here. But that playoff run was not good, so I'll put him at almost top tier. Next up, we got Ben Bishop. Another hard one. You know, he didn't play in the playoffs this year because he's injured, but his regular season was amazing. He had Vezina-like numbers, and honestly, in my opinion, he should have been nominated for the Vezina. But in the playoffs, you know, he wasn't there. I think he played in 2 games so far in his playoffs, and both games he wasn't good, just because he's been unfit to play. And I think I'm gonna put him at top tier. His regular season was amazing. That's why I want to put him there. And like, I think if he played in the playoffs and he did struggle more than he has in the first 2 games, I would put him here. But honestly, this regular season was so good, he's gotta be top tier. Mackenzie Blackwood, I'm gonna put him at almost top tier. I think Blackwood, if he was on a good team, he would have been a lot better than he was this year. On the New Jersey Devils, he had a phenomenal stats. I think he had like over .910 save percentage. That's amazing for the Devils. To have a goal like that on your team for your future is amazing. And you put Blackwood on like Tampa or Boston, this guy's gonna have over a .920 save percentage. So this guy is amazing. And right now, the way he's going, he can be a top tier goalie, honestly. So he is gonna be there at almost top tier. Next up, we got Bobrovsky, and this is the weird one because he didn't have the great season. This was probably one of his worst seasons he's had. I know he either had a .900 save percentage or lower. Like he had a terrible season in the playoffs. He was better, but also not there. So if I'm saying this season only, I'm gonna put him at average. If I said career-wise, it would probably be top tier or almost top tier. But for this year only, he was not good. I'm gonna put him at average. Next we got, is that Jack Campbell? I'm positive this is Jack Campbell. Now he's a backup for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He didn't play as much this season, but he was okay. I think I'm gonna put him at average. He was an average goalie this year. He had some good games, had some bad games, but he, I think, deserves to be in the average category. Corey Crawford. He actually had a decent season this year. He didn't play that bad, he didn't play that good, but he was kind of in the middle. I think average is too low. I'm gonna put him pretty good. He had a solid run. He was one of the reasons why Chicago beat Edmonton, and his regular season honestly wasn't that bad, so we'll put him pretty good. Next up, we have Aaron Dell, backup of the San Jose Sharks. Compared to last year, it was a big improvement from Dell this year. Last year, he had like a .886 save percentage. This year, he had over 900, so a lot of a better of a season for Dell. And you know, the Sharks struggled this year, so it was good to see Dell have a decent season. So I'm gonna put him at average. I'm kind of close to putting him here, but he did have a solid season, so I gotta put him at average. Next up, we got Thatcher Demko, and honestly, because of that playoff run, I want to put him at top tier. But I'll put him at pretty good. I think almost top tier is too early, especially after this year. So for this season, I'm gonna put him at pretty good. He had an amazing playoff appearance there in the last 3 games he played. He was phenomenal. He's almost the reason why Vancouver was almost still in. So I think if they were still in and they would have won the cup, this guy definitely would have been a top 2 goalie of the season. But just for the playoffs and for the decent regular season, I'll put him at pretty good. Next, you have Devin Dubnyk, and this guy is just starting to fall off in his career. I'm gonna put him at not good. Him and Anderson are both getting really old, and they're really falling off. So it's not a good season for Dubnyk, and hopefully Dubnyk can maybe show us next year that he is gonna improve. Now Elliott's a tough one. He had a worse regular season this year than last season, but in the playoffs in his 3 games that he played, it was pretty good. But I'm gonna put him at average. You know, he had a pretty bad regular season, but because of that little playoff run he had there coming in for Hart, you know, I think he deserves to be average, but I almost put him at not good. But yeah, he was just average this year. Next, we have Marc-Andre Fleury. Now, this was career-wise. He would obviously be top tier, but it's only this season. You know, in the playoffs, he hasn't played much, and he's been okay for his playoff appearances. And this regular season, he had a worse regular season than last year. So, for only this season, I'm gonna put him out pretty good. Not almost top tier. Like, his numbers this season were not top tier numbers, so I'm gonna put him out pretty good. Next up, we have, is that Grubauer or Frank Hughes? That's Frank Hughes. That's Frank Hughes. Pavel Frank Hughes. He was pretty good. You know, the playoffs, he did struggle a lot in the playoffs. He didn't have a lot of good games, a lot of high-scoring games, but regular season, he's one of the best backups in the league for regular season, and he played very good, so I'll put him there. Next up, we have Alexander Georgiev. Now, with the Rangers, they have Lundqvist, Shesterkin, and Georgiev. I forget how much games he played this year. I just checked. He played 34 games, and he had pretty good numbers with a .910 save percentage and a 3 goals against average. And he did do a little worse than last season. Actually, this was his worst season so far in his career, but he still was pretty good playing on the Rangers. I'm going to put him at average. Kind of close to putting him here, but I think he was just average this year. Next up, we have John Gibson, one of the best goalies in the NHL. Unfortunately, this year, he had his worst season of his career. And, you know, this was career-wise, he would be either top tier or almost top tier. But this year, he wasn't in Anaheim, so I'm going to give him credit, but I'm going to put him at average. You know, I can't put him at pretty good because he had his worst season of his career. So I'm going to put him here, but do not think that he's an average goalie in his career. He's definitely up here for his career. But this season, he just didn't have a good one. Next up, we have Thomas Greiss. You know, he's still in the playoffs right now with the Islanders. He's doing very good. And regular season stats were also pretty good as well. I think he had a big win streak and he had a phenomenal run. So I'm going to put him at almost top tier. Honestly, that might be too high, but he has been very good this year. One of the best backups in the league. And he could be a starter for any team like Ottawa or Detroit or anything like that. But he had phenomenal numbers this year. And in the playoffs, he's still playing really good. Next up, we have Philip Grubauer. In the playoffs this year, he was okay, but then he got injured, and then it just all fell down for the Colorado Avalanche. But in the regular season, he had solid numbers. I'm going to put him at pretty good. Solid goalie for the Avalanche, and it's good that they got him. Halak, one of the best backups in the league this year. he had to play for Ras this year in the playoffs because Ras opted out. And in the playoffs, he did pretty good until Tampa Bay found a way to score on him. And regular season, obviously, he's one of the best goalies in the NHL for regular season backup goalies. So I'm gonna put him top tier. For this year, he was one of the top tier backups in the league. Like, he played phenomenal this year, and in playoffs he was very good as well. So he definitely deserves to be top tier this year. Next up, Carter Hart, and I want to put him top tier, but that might be no. He deserves it this year. Best season of his career. He was so good this year. The way he played, the way he was in the playoffs. Unfortunately, how the Islanders beat him in 7 games. He deserved to move on. He was one of the best goalies in the NHL this year. He deserves top tier, 100% this season. Next up, we have a Vezina candidate in Connor Hellebuyck. And regular season numbers, phenomenal. Playoffs, he was not there, but in the playoffs, when his team was really injured, and you can't really blame Hellebuyck. So for his playoffs, I want to put him almost top tier, but I'm not going to do that. He definitely was top tier this year. Definitely top tier. He has to be because he was Vezina nominee. Playoffs wasn't there, but you can't really blame the playoffs on him. Next up, is this Holmberg? Let me check really fast. Yes, I was right. That is Holmberg. I don't know how to say his name. This season with Ottawa, he had an above 900 save percentage, which is pretty good despite being on Ottawa. So I think just because of that save percentage on the Ottawa Senators team, I'm going to put him at average. And I think this year, he had a lot of good games. I think when he played against Montreal, he was phenomenal in that game, and he ended up winning the game for Ottawa. So, he played amazing this year for being on the Senators. Like, his save percentage wasn't that high, but he did have a lot of good games, so I'll put him at average. Braden Holtby, a tough one this year. I think ever since they won the Cup, Holtby has just been slowly getting worse. He hasn't really found his game, and he will probably most likely be signed with a new team this year, so it'll be interesting to see how he does next season. But this year for me, Holtby was not there. His game wasn't there. In the playoffs, he wasn't there. So I'm going to put him at average, just like Bobrovsky, and I would say Gibson, but he's on Anaheim. But just like Bobrovsky, Holtby and him have had the same season where they both struggled and they couldn't find their groove. So I'm going to put him at average. Next up, we got Jimmy Howard, full of trash this year. He is on the Red Wings, so I guess you can give him some pity there, but he was just garbage this year. Carter Hutton. He had that 10-0 run with the Sabres where he absolutely killed it, but ever since that 10-0 run, he just slowly fell off his game. I want to put him pretty good, but just because of that downfall, he's going to be an average. If he kept going and had decent stats for this season, he would be pretty good, but he just fell off so bad. So I'll put him at average. Next up, you have Tristan Jarry from the Penguins, and 100%, he was amazing this year. In the one game he appeared in the playoffs, he was amazing. And in the season, he had a .921 save percentage, very good numbers. So I'm going to put him at almost top tier. For this season, he was amazing. He deserves to be in this area with these goalies, so I'll put him there. Next up, we have Martin Jones. He was just not good this year. Numbers weren't there, and that's the reason why the Sharks missed the playoffs. He just couldn't show up for them this year. Okay, guys, I want to make some changes to this list. I went through my phone looking at some goalie stats that I wasn't so concerned about, and I'm going to move 2 guys. I'm going to move Anderson and Binnington to pretty good. I looked at the numbers. Anderson had under a .910 save percentage this year, which isn't the greatest. And Binnington, I looked at his playoff run, and it was just really bad. So I think I'm going to put him and Anderson here. Binnington's really close to being here. He didn't have a bad regular season, but he wasn't his best. And playoffs, he played really bad. But for this year, I think he deserves to be in a pretty good area, not top tier. Next up, we have Anton Khudobin. He's still in the playoffs right now. He's playing amazing in the playoffs. And the regular season numbers were pretty good. So, because of these numbers right now that he put this year in the regular season and right now in the playoffs, he is definitely almost a top 2 goalie this year. Really close to putting it here. He had a .930 save percentage this year. That is very good. One of the best goalies in the league this year, but being a backup. And I think he really is. I'm almost going to put him here, but he's just under it just because he's a backup goalie, but he deserves to be in one of these 2 categories. Next up, we have the 5th overtime himself, Jonas Korpisalo. Definitely almost a top 2 goalie this year. Great season, great playoffs, and he definitely deserved to go far, but Tampa Bay just had his number, and Tampa Bay looks like they're going to win the cup this year, honestly, out of the way they're playing. So he was amazing this year. He definitely deserves his category. Next up, we have Mikko Koskinen. He played a great regular season. Playoffs, he wasn't there, though, but honestly, the whole team of Edmonton wasn't there. They just didn't show up. Regular season numbers, though, were pretty good, and I'm going to put him up pretty good. You know, he deserves to be there. Not top tier, but I think if he had a really good playoff appearance there, he would have been probably top tier, but he just missed. Next up, we have Darcy Kemper, one of the best goalies in the league this year, definitely. I'm gonna... Oh, this is hard. I think top tier is pushing it. I don't know why. I feel like top tier is pushing it for me. Yeah, I'm gonna put him at almost top tier, but I'm gonna put him right at the front. He is so close. Him and Kudobin are both so close to being up here, but I think he was just a little bit off for me, but definitely close. Robin Lehner, I think he deserves top tier. He has been phenomenal. This playoff run for Lehner, absolutely amazing. He's the reason why I put him top tier. His playoff run is amazing, and his regular season was pretty good. So he definitely deserves top tier, 100%. Henrik Lundqvist, I'm not gonna be that mean. He was not good. He was just average. You know how old he's getting this year. You know, I wish he could win a cup, but I think his time is just too late. And this year he was just average, so I'll put him there. Next up, we have Jacob Markstrom. I'm gonna put him at almost top tier. In the playoffs, he was pretty good until he got hurt somehow, and then Demko came in. So he was phenomenal. In regular season, he had great numbers. He's the reason why Vancouver obviously made the playoffs this year. So got put him at almost top tier. Next up, who is this? Is that Merzlikins? It's gotta be, because yeah, that's the jacket sweater. So yeah, this is Merzlikins, and he also was an almost top tier goalie this season. Him and Korpisalo both split the season, and you know Korpisalo had that massive run where he put up, like, I think he had like 3 shutouts in 4 games or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I know he had a shutout streak going. So he had a great season and a great playoff run, so definitely deserves top tier. Next up, we have Pino Mrazek, who had a solid regular season and he had a really good playoff run that fell short. I'm gonna put him up pretty good, just because of his playoff run. Season numbers were not the best, but he definitely deserves to be in a pretty good category. Matt Murray, one of his worst seasons this year. I think it maybe actually was his worst career season on paper. Average is so mean. The playoffs was really good. He was really good in the playoffs. A lot of people say he played bad, but he's the reason why Pittsburgh was able to keep up with Montreal. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to put him at average this year. Next up, we have... Why am I drawing a blank? Hold on one second. Oh, this is Anders Nilsson. Okay, I was kind of confused because he didn't play a lot this year, because it was Anderson and Holmberg mostly this year. So Nilsson didn't play a lot. But in his 20 games he played this year, he had okay numbers. I'm going to put him at average. So not bad for him. Next up, Carey Price. And this hurts me so much. You know, he's obviously a top tier goalie in his career. But this season, not the greatest numbers of his career. But the playoffs definitely makes it better. So this year, he was pretty good. He was not almost top tier this year. He needed a better regular season, in my opinion, to get almost top tier. But playoffs, he saved himself. If he would have had a bad playoff run this year, I might have had to put him in average, but because of his playoff run. Next up, we have Jonathan Quick. He had a better season than last year, but it's still not the best numbers. But I'm not going to put him at not good. I think he definitely deserves pretty average. No, put him at average. I'll put him at average. I'll give him a little bit of doubt there. He is in the LA Kings, but I don't think he should be in here with these three. These three were just really bad this year, so I'll put him at average. Next up, Antti Ranta. He had a very good season as well, one of his best of his career. And the playoffs, he was not the starting goalie because of Kemper was starting goalie, but the reason why Arizona was able to keep the playoff spot going in this season was because of Ranta coming in for Kemper, and he played really good. So I'll put him at. Is he a top 2 goalie this year? I'm gonna put Ranta at pretty good. Really close to put him at top tier. Or not top tier, almost top tier. Really close, but he's just a little short for me. Next up, Tuukka Rask. And finally, we have another goalie going to top tier. Can I reach it? There we go. Obviously, Vezina Trophy candidate. and just great numbers. I know he's on Boston, but this guy is one of the best in the league. I wish he didn't opt out because of family reasons, but you know, it is what it is. Pekka Rinne, this season, it wasn't it. You know, he didn't even play in the playoffs. UC Soros played more games in the playoffs than Pekka Rinne. And, you know, regular season this year, just terrible numbers. So, this hurts me to do, but no, he just was not good. You know, he has to go there. It hurts me doing that. But, like I said, if it was career-wise, he would be up here. But right now, he was not good. Next up, we have David Rittich. In the playoffs this year, he barely played. It was all Kim Talbot. And regular season numbers this year. And this year's regular season was worse than last year, but barely. You know what? You might disagree with this one, but I'm going to put him at average. I don't think he was pretty good. I think that's too high for him this year. You know, I'm going to put him at average. Next up, we have Ilya Samsonov. One of the reasons why Washington was so good. His backup position was amazing. He got a lot of big games for Washington this year. And, you know, I'm going to put him at almost top tier. Actually, no, that's too high. I'll put him at pretty good. I think almost top tier is too high. We're going to put him at pretty good. Next up, we have UC Soros. Not a good playoff run, but he had a solid regular season. I'm going to put him at pretty good. With Rinne getting old, UC Soros is going to start way more games than him next year. So hopefully, UC Soros will have his best season of his career. Next up, Igor Shesterkin. The best Ranger goalie this year. I'm going to put him almost top tier. He was the reason why the Rangers were so good. Like, he was the reason why they even made the playoffs this year. And he was good in the playoffs, but they just couldn't beat Carolina this year. So I'll put him there. Next up, Mike Smith. Playoffs this year, he wasn't that good in regular season. Not too impressive. But I'm going to put him at average. He does not deserve to be not good. He definitely had an average season. Next up, Alex Daylock. Another reason why the Minnesota Wild were able to get into that 2014 playoff. He was the reason why. I'm putting up pretty good. Solid season this year, and he definitely will start more games next year than Dubnyk. Linus Ullmark. This guy played amazing for Buffalo. One of the reasons why Buffalo almost passed Montreal this year. I'll put him up pretty good as well. Definitely a great goalie this year, and he deserves to be in that category. Next up, why am I trying to blank? Who is this? That's Grubauer. That's Vancouver. Wait, who is this? He's wearing an Avalanche jersey, but the Avalanche goalies are Grubauer and Francouz. Wait, 1 second. Oh, I see. This is Semyon Varlamov. He's in an Avalanche jersey. I was going to say, I got confused there. Anyways, he had an amazing regular season and amazing playoff run this right now that's going on. And he definitely deserves to be almost top tier. Varlamov's been amazing this year, and he's still going, and he might honestly lead the Islanders to a Stanley Cup. Finally, we have Andrei Vasilevskiy. Now, let me point out there are some goalies missing. So if your goalie isn't here, let me know in the comments below. Like, if you see a goalie that's on the video, comment below the goalie, and I'll tell you my rating about them if it's not in the video. So Andrei Vasilevskiy is the final goalie, and it's an easy choice. He is going. I can't reach. Easy choice. He is going not in pretty good. Scroll up, please. He is going in top tier. Anyways, hopefully I got all these names right. I'm positive I got all these names right. But let me know if I didn't. And thanks for watching this video, guys. I'll leave the link in the description of this tier list if you guys want to try it out. And I'll see you guys in the next video.